Hello and welcome back. In this section, we're going to talk about media. Media involves a lot of things. So media involves sound, so MP3, MP4 files, also involves photos and videos. Likely, Android allows us to create applications that take advantage of the media. In this case, we're going to take a look at how to play sound in our apps. Okay? So this is what we're going to be building here. So we're going to be able to say play, and you can hear it's playing, and you can say pause, and of course it changes the status here to play, and you can play again. Still playing. And at the end, it says duration 19 seconds. So this is what we're going to be building here. Okay. So as usual, go ahead and start your Android Studio. I've created already my project. So by now, you know how to create your own project. So go ahead and create project and name whatever you like. I named it Play Music. Okay. And one thing I want you to notice here is that I have added this raw folder here. So in the raw folder, that's where we put all of the text files that we want to use in our application, our media files such as audio, MP3, MP4, or video files, database files, you name it. So that's where we put all of the things that we want to reference back into our applications, right? So the way you do that, you just go Res, right click, and say New, Android Resource Directory. And in the resource type here, just click on it and go to raw. And of course, you can give it a different name, but I like to keep it raw. Just that way I know what kind of files I have in there. Okay, and click OK, and you should have that. And of course, this game filled MP3 file will be included in this project so that you can use it. So perfect. And of course, we've added this button here, which says play. If you double click on it, you can put a text play, and I have an ID of play button. Nothing really fancy here. And of course, the background, I have this color here of the background. You're more than welcome to change to a different color that suits you. And now we can go to our main activity and start putting things together. And of course, the first thing we're going to go and create some instance variables. So we can say private. Now we're going to get our button. So button called play music. And the next is going to be private. It's going to be a media player. So the media player is the class provided by Android. That way we can use it to then be able to play music and videos and many other types of media. Okay, so we're just going to call this media player. Inside here, our on create, we're going to say media player. That's when we're going to instantiate the actual media player is equal to new media player. There it is. And here we're going to go ahead and create the media player. Okay, so media player is equal to media player dot create. And you can see right away we have the create method of media player takes in a context and then takes in the int resource ID. So essentially just the path of our MP3 file here. Okay, so we say enter and say get application context. There it is. And then we say R, right? Because it's a resource folder we want to access. Dot raw dot, and there it is, game field. Also notice there's no extension, so you don't have to put .mp3. So semicolon there. And of course, while here, let's go ahead and say play music is equal to button. So find view by ID r.id dot play button, because that's the ID of our button. And let's just set up an on click listener here. So that's set on click listener, new on click listener. Enter, and we have our on click void method overridden here. So this is where we're going to be calling our media player. Okay, create a few methods here that will control the flow of our media player. Okay, The first method is going to be public void pause music. And yes, you know what pause music will do. It will have all the code that will be responsible for pausing the music. Now, I always like to check for things before I use them, right? That's a really good habit to have when you program. In this case, I'm going to always say if media player is not null, then I know, hey, things are good. I can do whatever I need to do. In this case, I'm going to say media player dot pause. So when the media player is paused, we want to then change the play music button text, set text, if I can type, to say play. Change the state of our play button. So if they pause it, if it's playing and they pause it, we want to change the title to say play, because then they can tap on it again to resume playing. Okay, that's all we're doing here. And that's it for this method. Let's create another method, public void start music. And so we do the same thing. Let's check. So if media player is not equal to null, then we know, yes, we are good to go. We say media player dot start. The common sense would be to say media player dot play. That's something that it's more intuitive to me. But as you see, there's no media player dot play. It's usually media player start. Tend to want to use play, but it's start. What do? You know, this is what we are given, so that's what we're going to be using. No problem. All right, so we have media player dot start, and of course we're going to say play music dot set text to pause, because if it's playing and we want to make sure to change our button to pause so they know they can pause the music. And that's pretty much it. Now if we go back here to our own click, what we're gonna do now, we're gonna say, okay, so if media player dot is playing, so we want to stop and give option to start again. So essentially we're just going to go and say pause music. So what's happening here, it's going to go ahead and call pause music, which will check if media player is not null. If it's not null, it's going to go and pause and set the text of the button to play, which is exactly what we want. Else, meaning if this is not true, if the soundtrack is not playing, we want to, yes, you guessed it, start music. All right, let's save this and run. Go run, just make sure things work. All right, let's say okay. And okay, let's give it a spin. Oh, nice. Let's pause. Let's play again. Very cool. All right, let's play one more time. This is very exciting. All right, let's pause. Perfect. This is great. Good job. Congratulations, guys. That's really, really awesome. And I hope you get excited about these things because, you know, as we demonstrate this, there's a lot of things you can do. So we have that working. Now, the one other thing that's very important to keep in mind is that when we are dealing with media players, when we are starting playing music or video or using text files or database files, we always have to understand that those take up a lot of memory. And so we always, as good programmers or as good developers, we always have to be mindful of that and find ways to give back the memory that we use. Okay? So one of the things we are going to do is we are going to override, we're going to call the onDestroy method, which is very tied to one of the life cycles of an activity. So onDestroy is called when the activity is actually killed or about to be killed, right? We want to be able to get rid of our media player and the resources that it's taking so that we give back the memory to the operating system. We're going to say Command N and go and say override methods. And here type on destroy, and there it is, as you can see there, and just say okay. And here inside we can say if media player is not null and media player is playing. First of all, we're going to say media player dot stop, right? And then we're going to say media player dot release, and most important, we're going to say media player is equal to null. This is a very important contract, because if we are saying here, after we have released, we want to make sure that our media player that's around, that may be around in memory, has to be null. So we definitely get rid of it. And the other important feature of our media player is the ability to track the progress, meaning that we can set up a event on complete event listener on our media players, so we can do something once the soundtrack is done playing. So what I'm saying here, we can say media player dot set on completion listener, okay, and say new on completion listener, enter. And as you can see here, we have our on completion method override, of course. And the other important thing to notice is that in our on completion method, we have this media player that has been passed. That way we can use it inside here to do whatever we want. And let's say we want to, at the end, to display on a toast message the duration of our game field MP3 that's been playing. Okay? What we do, we can say int duration is equal to MP. Why MP? Because remember, this is our media player that has been passed in our completion here method. Okay? And then we can say get duration. That's first one there. Perfect. And now we can say toast that make text and say get application context and say duration, and we're going to say plus pending and take that duration here, right, this integer that we're receiving, and say toast that length long, and again show it. Don't forget that. Okay, so what are we doing here? Again, we just getting our duration and putting our int duration here, and we just displaying that message duration in our toast. So this is going to happen at the end on completion, so when the player is done playing. Okay, let's give it a run. All right, let's go say okay. It's emulator here, and it's running, and there it is. Let's play. Okay, it's playing. Let's pause. It's still working. Let's play again. Let's wait until it's over, at which point we should see a toast message here giving us the duration of our song. And there you go, duration 19,252. Well, it's working, but that's a really big number. What's that? Well, it turns out the returned duration here is in milliseconds. So a second has 1,000 milliseconds. If we want to get a second from millisecond, it's very simple. All we do, we just divide it by 1,000. Now our duration should have seconds instead of milliseconds, which is more readable, and we are more familiar with seconds than milliseconds, naturally. And let's say here seconds. Okay, let's play again. Okay, here. Our app should be running now. All right, let's give it a try. Let's wait till the end. And we should see this is about 19 seconds. So we should see 19 seconds here. And there is 19 seconds, and the game field MP3 is indeed, as you can see here, 19 seconds. Very nice indeed, ladies and gentlemen. This is wonderful. So you have now created a very interesting and exciting, I may add. Yes, it's very exciting. Media player. You were able to play a soundtrack on your application. As you can see, there's a lot of uses for what we've just learned. You can use this for instance if you want to make sure that every time somebody taps on the screen or a button, then a sound is played or a little effect is played. I mean, you can do a lot of different things with it, okay? All right, so I'll see you in the next video.